Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Convocation. Please rise, and Stephanie will sing the national anthem for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You're always great. Thank you. Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our convocation. I'm Joseph Kiernan, the Metropolitan Campus Provost, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here to the Metropolitan Campus today. Welcoming our students, our faculty, our staff, administrators, trustees, members of the Platform Party, and guests of the 2011 Academic Convocation. Welcome to Wilson Auditorium. I have a feeling some of you haven't been here in a while. Do you like what we've done with the place? Last time some of you were here, the seats kind of moved a little. First, I'd like to introduce our members of the Platform Party. Those who are not active participants in the program, please stand as I call your name. You can clap then, or you can wait till the end. You know, there's not that many of them. First, Mr. Shelley Drucker is our Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. Mr. Rick Reese is our Senior Vice President for University Advancement. Mr. Reese is celebrating the conclusion of our capital campaign that just raised $59 million for projects on our campuses. Mr. Richard Riccio is our Vice President for Administration. His job is to spend the $59 million. Ken Green and I will be happy to help with that. Dr. Hanya Farrar is our our Vice President for Finance and Treasurer. Neil Sturm is our Vice President and Chief Information Officer. Professor Jeff Su this year is our President of the Faculty Senate. And Professor Paulette Labush is our Vice President of the Faculty Senate. And Karen Lewis is the President of the Professional Administrative Staff. We have some members of the Board of Trustees with us this afternoon. Mr. Stuart Krensman. And we have Ms. Ann Petroselli. and Mr. Robert Puris. Somewhere out there, we have our campus deans of students for the Metropolitan Campus, Michelle McCroy-Hines. And from the College at Florham, Dr. Brian Morrow. We're mostly about students, so I'd like to introduce our two Student Government Association presidents. First, from the College at Florham, we have Michael Mento. Students are important. Let me tell you a couple of things about Michael. He's a senior majoring in business administration, and his first involvement with the student government was serving as the Senator of Academic Affairs. Later in his sophomore year, he was both a senator and vice president of student affairs. His accomplishments include work on restructuring the FDU mobile software, reconstruction of the basketball courts, and his current initiative seeking improvements to the cafeteria dining while continuing his focus on developing the image of the SGA at Madison. Michael promotes community service to the SGA members. He's fortunate to attend the service project trip to Costa Rica during his sophomore year, returning the following year to help rebuild a grade school. Michael, congratulations. President of the Student Government Association at the Metropolitan Campus is Johnny Pinnell. Johnny's a veteran. This is his second year serving as president of the SGA. Previously, he served as the athletic senator and the head of the Campus Improvement Committee. He's a member of the men's golf team, treasurer for the College Republicans, and a member of the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. John is a chemistry major, a member of the Tri Beta Biological Honor Society and Chi Alpha Sigma National College Athletes Honor Society, who's who among America's college students, and a member of the honors program here at the Metropolitan Campus. John, congratulations. We have some members of the retired faculty with us this afternoon. I hope they're here. If I call your name, please stand. Stella Esrig is here. Stella? No? Garode Ankatavanich? Well, they said they would be here. And then we have some who didn't say they would be here, but are. Rose and Dan Toomey, please. Over here. Any other retired faculty out there? Martin Green, please. Okay, we stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm going to ask Brenda Blackman from our Board of Trustees to join me at the podium to present the 2011 Presidential Medal. Brenda?
Will New Jersey Assemblywoman Nellie Poe please come forward? Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We in New Jersey are blessed with many extraordinary representatives who have never lost sight of the power of education to change our world. And no one has been more steadfast in her commitment to education as an agent of change than Assemblywoman Nellie Poe. Assemblywoman Poe holds the dual distinctions of being the first woman and the first Latina to represent the 35th District of the state legislature. She is a veteran of the City of Paterson's municipal administration, having served in various capacities for over 3 decades. We at Fairleigh Dickinson know her as a friend and trusted advisor. When Alfredo Tan sought a local leader to recognize the accomplishments of high school students who completed our weekend enrichment programs in science, engineering, mathematics, and technology, Assemblywoman Poe came to campus to award the certificates of completion. When Fernando Alfonso and Fernando Oliver sought advice on launching Latino Promise, Assemblywoman Poe came to campus to provide it. When President Adams wanted to meet with Latino leaders in Trenton, Assemblywoman Poe made the arrangements and chaired the meeting. Nellie Poe is committed to providing opportunity for all and allowing each person to reach his or her potential, regardless of their economic or social environment. She believes, as we do, that education is the great equalizer. Nellie Poe is committed to education as a transformative path to individual success, and we thank her for that. Nellie Poe is a staunch advocate for equal opportunity and fair access to education for all, and we thank her for that. We applaud her leadership in the State Assembly, value her demonstrated commitment to education, and cherish her friendship. On behalf of all of us at Fairleigh Dickinson University, I am proud to bestow on Nellie Poe our Presidential Medal for her contributions to our university and our region. Please. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. First of all, let me just say good afternoon to each and every one of you, to the entire faculty of Fairleigh Dickinson University, to each and every one of you, to the Board of Trustees, to the students here on this great day. Let me just say how incredibly honored and privileged I feel this very moment to be part of the family and community of Fairleigh Dickinson University. Today, being bestowed this great honor upon me is one that I will absolutely indeed cherish. I will also say that today I really feel very much a part of the university family and community, and thank you so very much. I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to feel to be a part of this great day. On my way here, I was learning about that this is it's very customary for the university to hold such a ceremony and presentation, and I will remember this day for as long as I can. Let me also point out that I recognize the many challenges that our universities are experiencing, all of higher education. I also understand the importance of making sure that we have not only very well prepared and committed faculty members to continue the great and wonderful work that each and every one of you are doing, but I also recognize the importance of education for our students. They are our future. We want to be able to prepare them so that they can be part of this great nation and part of this great state, so that we can compete both nationally as well as globally. So I understand and give you so much credit for the work that you all do. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Our keynote speaker this afternoon is Professor Terry Montani, Associate Professor in the School of Education, Director of Learning Disabilities, and Associate Dean of University College. The topic this afternoon is very appropriate for the beginning of the school year. There have been changes over the last few years in federal laws and regulations. And across the country, colleges and universities are welcoming students back to campus and dealing with and expressing concerns for the needs of some of our special needs students who now attend our universities. And Dr. Montani is one of the real leaders in that field, and she's going to speak to us this afternoon. Terry?
First, I would like to thank Provost Kiernan for providing me with this opportunity to speak about the issue of accommodating students with disabilities at the university level. Selecting this topic underscores the importance. The success of students with disabilities is often dependent upon whether they have sought and received the accommodations they need. Additionally, the provision of accommodations is consistent with FDU's mission to provide students with a global education, which includes being responsive to diversity. Over the years, our nation has witnessed dramatic changes that have positively influenced the lives of children, youth, adults with disabilities. We have moved from a time of exclusion of individuals with disabilities from significant life opportunities toward the goal of full inclusion in educational, employment, and community settings. There was a time when students with special needs could not attend public schools. They either went to private schools or they didn't go to school at all. So we have come a long way. We can anticipate the continued growth in enrollment of students with disabilities on the FDU campus. This growth can be attributed to the focus on the establishment of post-secondary or college goals during this transition planning process that takes place in high school as a realistic goal for students with disabilities. There was a time when students with disabilities were not encouraged to pursue higher education. They would finish high school, if they did finish high school, and that was the end of their education. In addition, parents and students are very aware of the importance of post-secondary education on future employment opportunities. At this time, it's almost imperative that a student or an individual has a college degree in order to be competitive in the job market. FDU has a long and proud history of creating an environment that is responsive to the learning and social challenges frequently demonstrated by students with disabilities. Two noteworthy examples of FDU's commitment to students with disabilities are the Regional Center for College Students with Learning Disabilities, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and the Compass Program, a college support program for students with Asperger's syndrome. In addition, FDU has been diligent in implementing protections afforded to individuals with disabilities by federal laws. Today, I will highlight the legal basis for accommodations, describe some of the learning characteristics of individuals with disabilities, and describe the process by which students receive accommodations. There are two federal laws in particular that entitle students with disabilities to accommodations. Those are the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which has a specific clause, Section 504, which addresses the rights of individuals with disabilities. The second act is the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was first authorized in 1990 and reauthorized in 2008. These civil rights protections mandate that a disability cannot be grounds for excluding a person from a college, an academic program, a residence hall, or a college activity if the individual has a documented disability. Furthermore, these laws mandate that colleges and universities must provide reasonable accommodations to make their programs accessible to students with disability. I want to emphasize the word reasonable. All students who attend FDU and every other university are held accountable to the same academic standards. There may be accommodations granted to certain students with disabilities that will help them reach those standards, but the standards remain the same. The purpose of accommodations is to level the playing field so that students with disabilities have an equal opportunity to participate in educational opportunities along with their peers without disabilities. The population of students with disabilities most frequently represented on the FDU campus includes students with specific learning disabilities, students with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, and there has also been an increase recently in the number of students with Asperger's syndrome who are attending college and requesting accommodations. While disabilities are manifested in unique and often complicated ways, there are some general learning and behavioral characteristics that are worthy of discussion. I'll begin with students who have specific learning disabilities. By definition, these students have at least average to above average cognitive ability. They most frequently have variations in their academic performance. They may have specific strengths, for instance, in the area of verbal expression, and weaknesses in the area of math or written language. Sometimes these students confound their professors because it seems as though if they do so well in one area, why are they not performing the same across the board? Another category of students that we see on campus are students who have dyslexia. The characteristics of students with dyslexia are difficulties with reading fluency, oral reading, and spelling. Many individuals with dyslexia present exceedingly well if they are given the opportunity to give oral reports. However, when one looks at their written language, oftentimes the written expression is an underestimate of the depth and breadth of their knowledge. Students with ADHD, who are another group of students who frequently have learning disabilities. They don't go hand in hand. One can have ADHD and not a learning disability, but frequently we see them together. These individuals may have difficulty focusing and sustaining their attention. It's often thought that students with ADHD can't attend. That's actually not accurate. These individuals most often attend to everything with equal importance, and the difficulty is screening out the essential from the non-essential information. So for instance, what the speaker is wearing, who's on the platform, or who's walking in and out of the room has equal importance to what's actually being said. Students with Asperger's syndrome often have difficulties with social interactions. These difficulties may be accompanied by specific challenges with organization and self-monitoring, and they can have an impact on academic performance unless the students are provided with the appropriate support and accommodations. So what does this mean for us at FDU? In order for a student to receive accommodations, the following must occur. First, the student applies to the university without disclosing his or her disability during the admissions process. Federal law prohibits the disclosure until after the student has been admitted to the university. Next, a student is admitted, and it is up to the student to self-disclose the disability. They self-disclose the disability by providing the documentation to the appropriate college office. The student must submit documentation to demonstrate that there is a current and substantial limitation to learning. It is possible for one to have a disability of many types or a learning disability, and there may not be a need for accommodations. Some students with learning disabilities, while they don't go away, they have learned to compensate for their weaknesses and they don't need accommodations. On the other hand, many students continue to need the accommodations at the college level. Students who self-disclose their disability typically have a greater level of self-advocacy and self-determination than those who do not follow through on this important first step. The student must provide current documentation, which typically means a psychoeducational evaluation that includes a diagnosis along with recommendations for accommodations and justifications for those accommodations. This documentation is submitted to the Office of Disability Services, and a committee of professionals with expertise in the area of disabilities review the documentation. Each request is evaluated on an individual basis, using the standard of reasonable to make its determination. There are requests that are not considered reasonable. Again, students must self-advocate. The student brings the accommodation letter to his or her professor. The student is obligated to provide the professor with the notification well in advance of requesting special arrangements for testing or for any other special arrangements. There are different laws that govern the rights of individuals at the college level from those at the high school or elementary school level. In the younger years, in preschool, we have a law that some of you may be familiar with, which is called Child Find, where the onus is on professionals or early childhood professionals to notice differences that may be disabilities in young children and reach out to the parents or guardians of these children and encourage them to have evaluations and then follow through with the appropriate services. It's all different at the college level. We don't go out and look for the students. They must come and announce or approach the appropriate office with the request and the documentation. There are accommodations that are granted in high school that are not typically granted in college, and that's part of the responsibility of the committee from the Office of Disability Services to make that determination. Are these accommodations still warranted at the college level? Once the accommodations have been approved by the committee, instructors must implement the reasonable accommodations to which the student is entitled, keeping in mind that confidentiality must be maintained. This is not the point at which, as professors, we make the determination, well, I don't think the student needs this, or this accommodation just isn't appropriate, I'm not going to honor this request. We're legally bound to provide the accommodations that have been approved by the committee, by the Office of Disability Services. If, however, as a professor, you have a question as to whether the student is actually entitled to this accommodation, you can contact the office and seek verification of the accommodations. You're not, however, necessarily entitled to know what's the nature of the disability. Students may choose to disclose their disability to other students, other faculty members, administration, but unless you have the consent of the student to do so, you as an individual cannot disclose that disability. You must keep the confidentiality. Some examples of typical accommodations that are granted would be extended time, which is typically time and a half, a different room with a quieter setting when someone is taking an exam, the use of a computer for those with graphomotor difficulties, a reduced course load with the understanding if you're taking fewer courses each semester, it will take you more than 4 years to graduate. A math substitution, but not a math waiver. Typically, if students are having difficulty with math, they have a math disability, and this is documented, they will be offered a substitution for math, but not a waiver. Sometimes we'll have the request to waive the math requirements. That is something that typically does not happen because, as I said earlier, all students, including those with disabilities, are held to the same standards. So, as stated previously, accommodations are a right. They are not an option. Students are entitled to these accommodations through the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. In closing, it should be emphasized that the transition from high school to college poses numerous challenges for almost every student. As you can imagine, sorry about that. These challenges may be multiplied for students with disabilities. Hope I didn't scare anybody too much. fewer opportunities for student-teacher contact than are available in high school, new peer pressures, and the loss of daily supports from family and friends are among the challenges faced by all students. Each of these factors can serve as a tremendous obstacle to success for students with disabilities. Those with disabilities who require accommodations in large measure are dependent on each faculty member to facilitate a positive university experience. Part of that relationship is demonstrating respect for the student through implementation of his or her accommodations. Much has been accomplished on behalf of individuals with disabilities, but there is still more to do. There will always be more to do as we move the agenda forward for individuals with disabilities. On behalf of students with disabilities, let me say thank you for creating a campus environment in which their rights are respected, their contributions are valued, and their goals are realized. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Montani, for that enlightening keynote. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christopher Capuano, University Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. We've reached the point in our program when we introduce our new faculty. And I'm going to call upon the college deans to do so, to introduce the new faculty in their respective colleges. When your name is called, please remain standing until your dean completes calling everyone from your college. And I also ask that the audience hold their applause until each college is called completely. We'll begin with Dr. Jeffrey Wyman from our campus at Florham, Dean of the Maxwell Becton College of Arts and Sciences. Jeff?
Thank you, Chris. It's always a pleasure to be here to celebrate the university and our faculty. And I will be introducing new faculty from the Medco School of Pharmacy, which is part of Becton College, and our other new faculty from the college. Jeffrey A. Hughes, Professor of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Dongmi Park, Clinical Assistant Professor of Patient Care Science. Robin L. Pucci, Clinical Assistant Professor of Laboratory Sciences. Joseph Agugliaro, Assistant Professor of Biology. Matthew Boyd, Assistant Professor in Literature. Denise Y. Lewis, Assistant Professor of Counselor Education, Clinical Faculty. And Evelyn Lynn Reed, Lecturer of College Writing. Congratulations and welcome.
Next up is Dean Kenneth T. Verkins, Dean of the Anthony J. Petrocelli College of Continuing Studies here on our metropolitan campus. Ken?
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon. It is a privilege and an honor to introduce 4 new faculty in the Anthony J. Petrocelli College of Continuing Studies. First, Catherine Acosta, Senior Lecturer of Psychology. Next, Dr. Patricia Keith Durso, Assistant Professor of English. Franklin S. Monteiro, Senior Lecturer of Business and Assistant Professor of the Latino Promise Program, and Dr. Lawrence Winters, Senior Lecturer of Interdisciplinary Studies and Assistant Director of the Interdisciplinary Studies Program. Please join me in welcoming these new faculty.
Dr. William Moore, Dean of the Silverman College of Business, which operates across both campuses, Metropolitan and College at Florham. William?
Our first faculty member at Silverman College of Business is not here today. He's at our Vancouver campus. He is Saqib Anwar, and I'm sure he would have appreciated your applause had he been here. I'd like to introduce with us today James Donius, visiting assistant professor of marketing, Alam Koja, instructor information systems and decision sciences, Christopher Meyer, instructor management, Mayapan Narayanan, assistant professor marketing and entrepreneurship, and Dr. Hannah Rosen, assistant professor of accounting from Silverman College of Business.
And from our fourth and final college, which is based here on the Metropolitan campus, Dr. Patty Mills, Dean of University College, Arts, Sciences, and Professional Studies. Patty?
Thank you, Chris. It is my pleasure today to introduce these new faculty. Alexander Casti, Assistant Professor of Mathematics. Tarika Daftari Kapoor, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice. Benjamin Freer, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Daniel Grashin, Associate Professor of English and Director, School of English Philosophy and Humanities. Aaron Grolich, Clinical Instructor of Nursing. Marianne Holmesy, Assistant Professor of Nursing. David Kiefer, Lecturer in Physics. Brian Meadows, Assistant Professor of Education. Julie Ryan, Assistant Professor of Psychology. Shane Smith, Senior Lecturer of Education. And Stephen Young, Assistant Professor of Psychology.
And I'd like to extend a warm welcome again to all the new faculty. I wish you well in your first year and look forward to seeing your contributions. Thank you. And now it's time to move from introduction of our new faculty to our distinguished faculty. Each year we award 3 distinguished faculty awards in the areas of teaching, service, and research and scholarship. And like each year, this year we have 3 recipients. They are noted in your program. And I will begin with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service, Dr. Joel Harmon. Joel, will you please come forward? Joel I. Harmon, Professor of Management, Interim Executive Director, Institute for Sustainable Enterprise, Distinguished Faculty Award for Service. The great educator and commentator Marshall McLuhan once observed, "There are no passengers on Spaceship Earth. We are all crew. But every good crew needs inspired leaders, and at FDU, we count you among the very best." A devoted faculty member for nearly 2 decades, you have made extensive contributions to your university and significantly enhanced our reputation. Your vision and determination helped found the Institute for Sustainable Enterprise and enabled FDU to jump to the forefront of this critical movement. You were a strong advocate and catalyst for sustainability on campus. You played a lead role in forming the Student Green Club, the annual Green Day, and the Sustainable Campus Council. You have worked tirelessly with others to develop a dynamic research and community outreach agenda, to create exciting initiatives like the Sustainability Incubator, to develop partnerships with corporations and governments, and to organize important conferences and seminars. In fact, you have organized more than 100 breakfast seminars over the last 15 years using your charm and authority to convince many in industry that FDU was the place to be at the crack of dawn. This incredible work represents just a fraction of your influence. You have taught at all levels, developed many new courses, advised countless students, and mentored junior faculty. You have further brought your insight and diligence to the role of department chair, and you either chaired or co-chaired many important committees, including the Silverman College's Dean Search Committee, Strategic Planning Task Force, and Accreditation Steering Committee, to name a few. Faithfully receiving the esteem of your colleagues, you have twice been elected President of the Faculty Senate, and you helped restore the credibility and effectiveness of this key institution. Underlying and complementing your many varied activities is an impressive record of achievement in your discipline. Your reputation in the field of management is well illustrated by your many publications, grants, and honors, and of course your leadership positions within organizations like Eastern Academy of Management. But whether you are revealing lessons in management theory or exploring the transition of the green economy, the common denominator remains your commitment to your students, the next generation, as well as to your university. With great appreciation, we bestow upon you the Distinguished Faculty Award for Service.
Thank you for the kind words, Chris. It's not often that the word charm and my name collide in the same sentence. In fact, a few colleagues came up to me earlier in the day and expressed how encouraging they found it that they actually have an award in this university for troublemakers. My newest service to you is going to be keeping my remarks mercifully short. 3 things. I don't know if any of you have ever had an opportunity to go to the first floor in Robeson Hall, on which in the hallway they have plaques of all those who have received these 3 distinguished service awards over the last 25 years. I must tell you that it's both gratifying and quite humbling to find myself in the same row with names such as Savage, Cummings, Fatemi, Brudner, Keishian, Grob, Roberts, Adriganola. Second, I sometimes kid and say that I really haven't worked a day in the last 20 years. It's not easy, it's not difficult to contribute when you care so deeply about an institution such as this one, which many of you do, and about issues such as the well-being of our planet and communities as spaces where social and environmental and economic vitality can all come together. Third, you don't get to serve well, I don't think, without the support of so many people. To my way of thinking, this is a community award. And I just want to acknowledge some of the people who've made this service and this journey possible, even fun. Mentors who've gotten me through tough times, like Ron Heim and Helen Brudner. Michael Adams, for having an open ear. I know we all wish him a speedy recovery to get back to us soon. My management department colleagues, all of them, great department, in particular, Gwen Jones and Dennis Scotti, who've been such a pleasure over the last 20 years to work with. My ISE comrades, too long a list, really, but I want to single out in particular Dan Toomey, a co-founder of the Institute of Sustainable Enterprise, ISE as we call it, Gina Wurtenberg, passionate, visionary individual, a pleasure to work with, associates such as Rose Toomey, Gerard Christine Farias, Kent Fairfield, Bill Russell, Matt Polsky, and also people on the campus, in particular on the Flora Madison campus, from Beckton College who worked so hard to make Green Day and the Student Green Club happen, such as Amber Charlebois. In particular, in that regard, Maura Panuski, without whom I don't think that I or the Institute could make it from one day to the next. So thank you very much, Maura. And finally, my wife, Jan, my daughter, Caitlin, who is, I hope, watching from Germany, where she is on assignment for BASF, she graduated about a year from here and was mentored so well by so many in the organizational psychology program, who I'm sure are as proud of her as I am. So you see, like, it all comes around, huh? Yeah. And when you care about something and you're passionate about it, you often find yourself, don't you, getting caught up in it. And that takes something sometimes away from the people that you love. My wife and my daughter have for years been compiling this book called The Harmon Book of Soon. In it are some hilarious definitions of things like, I'll be right there, in a second, in a minute. If you have a chance at the reception, ask Jan about in a minute, that translated into a dinner for 12 that I never saw, all the way through dishwashing and being put away, things like that. My darlings, I could, without your love and patience and support, I could never have done anything. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, all of you, for this honor and for being such a great community. Thank you.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching is Catherine Douglas. Catherine, would you please come forward? M. Catherine Douglas, Senior Lecturer of English Composition, Director of the College Writing Program, College at Florham, Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching. When you were 9 years old, your mother sent you to your room as a punishment. But instead, you discovered a new world. You spent the afternoon reading Charlotte's Web and were absorbed, stimulated, and driven from that moment on to share your love of storytelling and writing. We are today fortunate that you share that love with the FDU community. Indeed, for more than 2 decades, you have been one of our most precious resources. The director of the college writing program since 2008, you serve about 900 students from all majors and disciplines every year, providing essential skills that will drive their success. In the classroom, you are incredibly prepared, challenging, and exhaustive with your attention. Your student and peer evaluations significantly surpass the norm, and you often are the program's highest rated instructor. Among your specialties are Milton and children's literature. You designed and taught courses reflecting these interests, and you created a children's studies minor. Your lessons are captivating, and the impressions are long-lasting. You know you are doing something special when students get excited about John Milton. You further redesigned the campus reading program, inviting authors to campus and engaging students with the text and the text creator. And you regularly expand the horizons of your students, taking them, for example, to the Metropolitan Museum of Art to write about the power of those experiences. And you do so much more. You are incredible. You are an incredible mentor for the faculty, guiding those looking to spark curious minds. You take great pride helping colleagues to develop their voice in the classroom. One protege said it best when he applauded you for moving him beyond merely teaching to investing in students' futures. Prior to directing the writing program, you were the longtime director of Freshman Intensive Studies program and significantly built both enrollment and services offered. This is not the first time FDU has sung your praises. For example, you earned a Pillar Award in 2004 and just this spring received the Educational Opportunity Fund Outstanding Faculty Award. For still sharing the enthusiasm of that 9-year-old girl for literature and for now combining it with the artistry of a natural educator, we honor you again and present the Distinguished Faculty Award for Teaching.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you especially to those who led me in all these many years, Martin Green, Jeff Weinman, Peter Benson. Couldn't have done it without you. In her essay, Write Till You Drop, Annie Dillard tells a story to illustrate what she thinks it is to be a writer. Her story is of another well-known writer who, when stopped by a university student, was asked, "Do you think I could be a writer?" "Well," the writer said, "I don't know. Do you like sentences?" Dillard goes on to say that if the student had liked sentences, of course he could begin, like a joyful painter she knew, who, when asked how he came to be a painter, said, "I like the smell of paint." We are teachers because we like students. We enjoy hearing what they have to say and are thrilled when they think we have given them something to think about. We are teachers because we both love and fear the sacred space of the classroom, where we share what we understand of our literature and of life, and where the discipline of the classroom and those we meet there have taught us to live. We are all engaged in one long conversation with every text we encounter and with every person we have had the chance to meet. So really, teaching is just living. And I have been fortunate to live well here at FDU.
The recipient of this year's Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship is Dr. Robert McGrath. Bob, would you please come forward? Robert E. McGrath, Professor of Psychology, Director of the PhD program in Clinical Psychology, as well as the Postdoctoral Master of Science program in Clinical Psychopharmacology. Metropolitan Campus, Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship. Your faculty website leads with the quote, "The only thing better than teaching is learning." You have devoted yourself relentlessly to an impressive academic career spanning nearly 3 decades at Fairleigh Dickinson University alone, and to the good fortune of your students and colleagues. Despite serving as director of 2 graduate programs, you have maintained a stellar publication record. Your research in measurement, clinical assessment, and professional issues in healthcare psychology has produced more than 150 publications and professional presentations. You have published in some of the most selective journals in the field, served as editor for several journals, and reviewer for many. 3 times you have been awarded the Society for Personality Assessment Martin Mayhem Award for your work, more than any other researcher. You co-edited 1 textbook, Pharmacotherapy for Psychologists, which helps psychologists collaborate with medical professionals who prescribe drug therapies for patients. Your expertise in the subject led you to develop FDU's postdoctoral program in clinical psychopharmacology, which recently earned designation from the American Psychological Association, one of only 2 such designated programs in the entire country. You are also the sole author of Quantitative Models in Psychology, which is cherished by students for its clear exposition of often intimidating statistical concepts. If it weren't enough, you established a certificate program at FDU in integrated primary care, and at the national level, you have been nominated for president of the American Psychological Association. Raised in a blue-collar family, you knew early on that you wanted a career in psychology. You called yourself an information junkie, interested in art, biography, history, biology, physics, economics, and literature. and whatever else captures your attention at the moment. For example, you have served as the chair for the main environmental group in your hometown, a group founded at the dining room table several years ago. You clearly have a strong work ethic, but your colleagues and students also enjoy your sense of humor and light touch. For all these reasons and more, and for your continued commitment to understanding, assessing, and improving mental health, we salute you with the Distinguished Faculty Award for Research and Scholarship.
I don't think I can compete with the previous recipient in terms of brevity, but I'll do my best. But I do want to tell you a story, and this is a story that I heard that Garrison Keillor tells about how he became a storyteller. Keillor claims when he was a boy, he loved science and math. He was fascinated by the order and objectivity they bring to the world, and he assumed that fascination would determine his future choice of a career. Until one day, he found a box of memorabilia belonging to a school maintenance worker, a man whose existence he had barely registered up until that point. In it, he found mementos from the man's life, from his days as a soldier at war, newspaper clippings from time when the man attempted to become a boxer, and a faded picture of a woman, maybe the great love whom he had lost. Keillor finishes that story by saying, "That was the day I gave up math for gossip." When I was a boy, I knew I wanted both math and gossip. So maybe it was inevitable that I would end up spending my life researching in the field of psychology. It's been a good choice for me. I don't know if I could have found another field that so deeply honors both the analytical powers of the brain and the intimate affairs of the heart. So the fact that you have chosen to honor me today for my fascination, for my obsession, is just icing on the cake. I have several people I have to acknowledge. First, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart the university administration and my colleagues on the faculty of the School of Psychology. They've given me the freedom for almost 3 decades, as Chris was nasty enough to point out, to pursue the topics that interest me. And they've given me the freedom to go in the directions I wanted to go. And I hope my productivity has paid off for their trust in my abilities. I particularly want to express my disappointment that President Adams can't join us here today, because he has always been a strong supporter and has given me a lot of confidence in doing the things that I want to do, and I wish him well. Second, I have to acknowledge my wife, Deborah Bernstein, who is behind the flag there. This is a particularly poignant year in which for me to receive this award, because it also happens to be our 25th wedding anniversary. So in honor of that, I'm going to share one more story with you, which is the one I told our kids the night we celebrated our 25th anniversary. It was shortly after we first got involved, and we were out for a walk together. At one point, I was being quiet and looking up at the sky, and you asked me what I was thinking about, and the answer I gave you was electrons. You took it in stride, as you have so much over the last 25 years, though I notice you never ask me that question anymore. I love you, and I'm grateful for everything that you've brought to my life. Speaking of my kids, I'd like to acknowledge them as well. Unfortunately, Megan and Brian couldn't be here with us today, as they're both off now making their own gossip. I wish you all could have met them today, because they're both pretty amazing people. Finally, I have to acknowledge the students, and particularly the students in the PhD program in clinical psychology, with whom I've worked for those 3 decades. Your enthusiasm keeps me energized, your youth keeps me young, and you're a big part of the reason why so many of my friends are jealous of how much I enjoy my job. Thank you again for this award, honoring my love for both math and gossip. I will cherish it always. Thank you very much.
Our students are influenced during the course of their education careers not only by the faculty, but by many other members of the FDU community as well. The counselors and advisors, the librarians and assistants, and the wide range of support staff who give so much of themselves on a daily basis to enhance our students' experience and to facilitate the work of the university. Just as we have many faculty who have given years of distinguished service to FDU, we have many staff members who have also made outstanding contribution to the success of the university. They are, in a very real sense, pillars of FDU. I'll pause for a moment and ask any of the previous winners of the Pillars Award to please stand and be recognized. I know we have some here. Pillars of FDU Award was created in 2001 by President Adams. It is designed to recognize those individuals who have served FDU with commitment and distinction for at least 10 years, who have promoted civility on campus, who have shown unusual concern for students and their welfare, and who serve as role models for their FDU colleagues and students. This award will be conveyed to no more than 2 employees from each campus each year. Nominations from the campus community are considered, and awardees are chosen by the former recipients. Honorees also are privileged to participate in the annual commencement processional. I'm proud this afternoon to introduce the Metropolitan Campus recipients of the Pillars of the University Awards for 2011. Our first recipient is Teresa Cole. Stand here and don't blush. Teresa Cole started on our original Rutherford campus in 1984. Moved to Teaneck in 1989, but to complete the trifecta has also worked at the Madison campus for a period of time. On every campus, in every department, and on so many committees, including her membership on the Professional Administrative Senate Executive Council, she has shown an amazing work ethic and willingness to do whatever is necessary to get the job done. Most recently in the Financial Aid Office, where Teresa is the Director of Financial Aid Operations, she has impressed all with her skill, devotion, and most of all her empathy and understanding. She's an impressive pillar of the university. The Financial Aid Office is often not a fun place to be. Lots of times people go in looking for things and the answer turns out to be no. So that's not the best place, but I have to tell you, when you go to find Teresa and she works down in the Crone building, finding her is the first problem. Her office is down there in the back. The first problem is trying to open the door. Teresa's office is filled with files that go back, I don't even know how far.
I've cleaned it out.
That's great. The last time I was there, you had to open the door, and then you have to work around these boxes. And then you say something, Teresa, like, you know, Teresa, I'm here, I need the financial aid file on John Smith from last fall who was majoring in accounting. And she goes over to box A and so forth and pulls it out in 3 seconds and hands it to you. And you just wonder, how do you know where all of these things are? She's that good. I think in the area of financial aid, which is complex enough with all the federal regulations and things that go along with federal awards, there are probably a couple of things that you don't want to get involved in if you're in the financial aid office. The bad words are NCAA. The other bad words are Veterans Administration, Yellow Ribbon, what's the one for after the war? Montgomery Act, yes. Well, these are the things you don't want to do if you're in the financial aid office. So guess who does all of those. It takes a pillar, and we have one here in Teresa. Your turn.
This looks worse than it is, but those of you who know my family, my siblings and I are slightly visually challenged. So I printed it in very large print so I should be able to get through it whether my glasses slip or fog up or something. So, University Provost Capilano, Campus Provost Kiernan, how did you remember all that stuff about my office? And I have cleaned it out, slightly, and come October it will be even cleaner. Fellow guests on the podium, fellow honorees, staff, faculty, and most importantly, family and friends. I thank you so much for this honor. It means so much to me knowing that colleagues not only nominated, but also voted for me to receive this award. Thinking back to May of 1980, when it first all began, my mother, who worked on the Rutherford campus in the Rutherford Library, came home with a flyer, and yes, that's how they advertised jobs back then, with flyers, for the summer position in the financial aid office, and proceeded to tell me that when I came home the next day from my teaching job, I was going to go to Human Resources and apply for the job. Well, of course I did, because who would say no to your mother? Gertrude Kazumplik called Joyce Hebe in the financial aid office and informed her she had a very good candidate for the opening in her office. But when Joyce found out that I was a teacher, she said, no, I don't even want to interview her because come August, she'll be taking time off getting ready to go back to school. But Mrs. Kazumplik persevered and said, no, you have to at least interview her. And after the interview, if you decide you do not want her, then I will abide by your decision. Well, a job that was supposed to be from June to September lasted until the end of the calendar year. And the next 3 years, I worked summers in the Rutherford and Teaneck offices, depending on which one called me first. I even did a short stint for a VP as a secretary when somebody was out ill. On really bad days in financial aid, I do call Joyce Hebe and say, if you had only stuck to your guns, I would not be here today. In April of '84, my parents received a frantic call from Samuel Ray, who was the university director of financial aid. Well, I taught in a private school, so we closed on Wednesday before Easter, and I was off the whole week after. So I was enjoying one of my cheap holiday getaways in Texas. There are some advantages to having brothers live out of state. Upon my return, I was offered a full-year position as a part-time counselor in the Rutherford Financial Aid Office, and since then it has been an upward climb. The worst thing that I've had to do, not related to dealing with students here at Fairleigh Dickinson, was the closing of the Rutherford campus. The best has been the pleasure and good fortune to work with people like Sam Ray, Meave Doherty, Rita Van Leer, Ann Galino, Saul Kleinman, Joanne Sapio, Margaret McGrail, Al Shelke, my window buddy, Rich Panicucci, John Ludwizak, who all taught me so much and had such patience with me, Sean, Seth, Kathy from athletics, the staff in the financial aid office, who has been many throughout the years, enrollment services on both campuses, the people in MIS who are phenomenal, they actually take my phone calls, Marjorie Hall. Should we have gotten that hot dog stand or was it an ice cream cart? We keep battling on that because we were both afraid who was going to eat the profits. So many more have made the task that much easier to get completed here in the university. My parents have always stressed two things to my siblings and myself. The first being the importance of education, and I believe we achieved that with all 5 of us receiving a bachelor's degree and 4 of us receiving a master's. The second being that when we left the house, we first represented ourselves, our family, our school, town, or employer, whatever the case could be, and we better do a good job of it. Believe me, none of us wanted to face the parents if we were caught doing something we were not supposed to be doing. So we learned not to get caught. My eldest brother was a very good teacher. I believe by being selected as a pillar, I have represented myself, my family, and Fairleigh Dickinson University in a very positive way, and rest assured I will continue to do so. Mom, Uncle Yash, Johnny, Cindy, the rest of my family and friends. You don't know what it means for me to have you here to share this day with me. My other siblings, Michael, Stephen, and Billy, I know they're there in thoughts. And I love you all very much. And I thank you all so much for this great honor.
Our second recipient from the Metropolitan Campus is Gail Lemaire. Gail is the Executive Assistant to the Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer and University Risk Manager. You fit that on one card?
No, actually no.
Now, I must say, when Joan and Michelle came to me and said the pillars for this coming year, one of them is Gail, I didn't believe it. And the first thing I said was, how can Gail win that award 3 times? I said, Gail has never gotten the pillar. That can't be. They actually had to take me out into the hall in Robeson where all the pillars' names are on plaques and prove that Gail's name was not already there. Gail joined Fairleigh Dickinson in 1987 and has grown into one of the most trusted, talented, and loyal members of our community. Her responsibilities continue to increase, and she is in the front line of so many critical initiatives. From serving the emergency management team to volunteering at our commencement celebration, for her vital responsibilities in risk management to her support of the Board of Trustees and her new role coordinating our Middle States accreditation process. Gail is a pillar whom we can count on again and again. Now, Gail goes back quite a few years. I remember when you worked in the President's office.
That's right.
And then you went to the Executive VP, and now you're our risk manager. So I just want to say a couple of things because the campus provost sometimes interacts with the risk manager. Okay? Things like this might go on. Gail, the Division of Student Affairs, has an interesting trip that they want to take the students on. It might involve a lot of people and a swimming pool in another state. And Gail will come back and say, you can't do that. It's too dangerous. Or I might say, Gail, the School of Psychology just called, and they're all sitting there. Okay? And they have a peculiar request. It seems that they want to do an icebreaker and team building exercise with the PhD students, and the exercise involves rappelling off the roof of North Point. That's true, right, Ron? Okay, now that didn't happen because we have a risk manager. The interesting one was only this week when Gail tried to cancel Christmas. Well, not quite. Not quite. I guess a group of our veteran students would have liked to have a Christmas tree sale and set up Christmas trees out in one of our parking lots, which sounds good on the surface, until we call Gail. And then Gail reminds me and says, you know, students might buy those trees and take them into the residence halls and decorate them with lights that might I get it, Gail, I get it, we're going to stop. And by the way, you would have to go to the town of Teaneck and get a permit. And the permit would have to enable the veterans to compete with the police selling Christmas trees across the street. That might not be received very well at the municipal building, so Gail saved me from that one. The citation also mentions Gail's work in the Middle States accreditation process. Okay, now, we just finished our periodic review report, and I had a little bit to do with that process. And Gail was our main staff person. Now, I know we have a lot of new faculty here, so I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice. If the president calls you and says, we have work to do for Middle States, run. If you find out that you're on the committee of a Middle States initiative and Gail is not there, run faster and run further. I can describe a little bit to you about what it's like to work with Gail on a process like that. Typical night last April, maybe it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm working in the office, which happens too many times because that's when you can get things done. Phones don't ring, people aren't there. Now, there are 3 things wrong with that. 1, I'm there at 9 o'clock at night. 2, Gail's there too in her office. And 3, Gail knows that I'm there. And so my quiet, no phone ringing stops. Come over here, we've got some stuff to put together for Middle States. And I have to describe this. You go over, it's night, you go in the office, there's paper everywhere in nice, neat piles. And Gail will tell me, sit down in that chair. Don't touch anything unless I give it to you. And she means it. But I have to say, we completed the process, and it couldn't have been done without Gail. And all the things that she does and all the assignments that she steps forward for and does with a very high-quality way, she certainly deserves the Pillar Award. Congratulations.
Gosh, I feel like I know so many people in this room, and I'm just so happy to be here and to be honored. For those of you that know me well, I just love public speaking, so I'm going to just read a few words, and thank you for indulging me. First of all, thank you, Joe. It's just one of the highlights of my day to work with you, and I hope you know that. President Adams, we wish you were here. We're all pulling for you and hope to see you very soon. We're sorry to miss you and wish you well. And then thank you to all my colleagues, friends, and family here today. I'd like to congratulate today the faculty honorees first and foremost. Our students are truly fortunate to have access to such exceptional scholars, truly. And also, I'd like to congratulate Teresa and Yvonne and Bill. I am just so pleased and honored to be designated today with you as a pillar. It's just a pleasure for me. I'm getting kind of filled up because I'm looking over and seeing my family, and it just makes me so happy to have them here. As for me, I am so fortunate to be able to say that FDU has been my second home for nearly 25 years, and I've had the privilege of working with so many exceptional people who have mentored me and taught me many life lessons. Just to name a few, Alice Olick, Frank Mertz, Beth Noonan, and Carl Viola, they all gave me invaluable encouragement and support in the many different roles I've held here. And last but, last but not least, really, I just again want to say that the lessons they've taught have been immeasurable in terms of my success here. They have really given me such an enthusiastic encouragement. They've taught me the value of maintaining grace under pressure, how important that is, to have a strong work ethic, and the importance of putting yourself in other people's shoes when you're faced with difficult challenges, and also to stay true to your values. During my 8 years in Madison, I completed the Carl Viola boot camp, which steeled my wool and built up my endurance for the long hours that Joe referenced earlier. I remember working with Peter Falley and Carl many late nights in the mansion, with each of them standing over me while they were correcting the latest iteration of the strategic plan back then, while I typed on an ancient Xerox memory writer. I don't know if many of you remember that. So thanks, Neil, for the computers we have today, I think. Again, thanks to Carl, who has been such a great mentor and good friend. He's not here today, but I needed to say that. These days, I have the honor and privilege of working with the best, among them Joe Kiernan, Chris Capuano, Ken Green, Hanya Ferrara, Jim Pierce, Rose D'Ambrosio, this is a little bit long. Neil Sturm, Carol Creekmore, Dick Riccio and Dick Frick, Indira Govindon, Frank Lawson, Juliet Brooks, Michelle Hines, Brian Morrow, Dave Miles, Willie Thornton, Glenn Gates, and Jean Mazzola. And the list goes on and on. There's so many tremendous people here that I'm blessed to work with. And each and every day, I do get to work with one of the best, and that is Shelley Drucker. I have a special thank you, Shelley, for your mentorship and support over the last 6 years. Thank you so much for sharing with me your expertise, your wisdom, and your wit every day, and for giving me the opportunity to embrace my newest role in the fascinating yet never dull world of insurance and risk. Although I'm still having a hard time with all the gray hair that I now have. Haven't gotten used to that yet. Lots of gray hair. To my family who are here, I can't express how much I appreciate your love and support. To my husband Tom and my son Ryan, thank you so much. I love you so much. My sister is here, Lori. You're my best friend, and I don't know what I'd do without you, really. Lastly, my 89-year-old dad, Ed Gavrekian, who he couldn't be here today, but I thank him for teaching me how important it is to work hard and what it really means to work hard. And also to my brother in Arizona, I wish him much love since he couldn't be here. And to wrap it up, I just want to say I'm so grateful for the opportunities that have come my way to provide support in advancing this university and its core mission to prepare our students to become leaders in the global community. I'm so proud of the accomplishments and hard work of all the members of the FDU community, and I look forward to working with all of you during the future. Thank you so much.
I'm Ken Green, Provost at the College of Florham. It is my privilege to recognize the winners of the pillars for our campus. The first recipient is Yvonne Bodden. Yvonne. Yvonne Bodden, Administrative Assistant to the Director of Student Life, College at Florham. Yvonne Bodden has played an important role at FDU for more than 3 decades, working in several departments over the years. And one was used to conference operations. I remember one. I think that's the first time we talked when I was trying to book a room, as a matter of fact. And then the EOF program. Yes. And now she's the Administrative Assistant to the Director of Student Life. In all of these positions, she has been driven by a genuine concern for students' well-being and a lifelong commitment to education and self-development. Yvonne is an alumnus of Fairleigh Dickinson University, where she earned both bachelor's and master's degrees. She knows firsthand the value of the mission of our institution, and she frequently volunteers for many important efforts, including serving on the campus council. She is a model of professionalism, a beacon of warmth and sensitivity, a motivator for peers and students alike, and indeed a pillar of the institution. Congratulations and thank you, Yvonne.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so emotionally moved for being here today. I see so many familiar faces from both the TNET campus, some of the Rutherford campus. I've been around to all 3 campuses, and I thank you, each and every one of you, for this award. I thank everyone here and all of the familiar faces, and I can't even begin to do or call the names, but I do have some. To the person who nominated me, I sincerely thank you. To the Pillars Selection Committee, please know that I'm honored and thank you for your support. The past 3 decades I've been with Fairleigh have been a working and educational blessing. It is where I chose to be at work so that I could learn more of the world around me while learning more about myself. It's been a praise truly where I made my life. You know the old African proverb. It says, it takes a village to raise a child. I decided to fuse this proverb so that the university became my village, and as its mission became my vision. Once I began my work here, I challenged myself to set educational goals. I'm pleased I've achieved my higher education with the help of engaged teaching staff, great master teachers such as Dr. Gaffney, Drs. Gaffney, Marlena Rosenbaum, Judith Kaufman, who I see here today, and those are just a few of the people and the leaders that I learned from, and I learned how to work with, and I found myself as well. Many of my work experiences at the university over the years have been rewarding, and much has had to do with you, everyone. Administrators and supervisors like Patricia Wessel, I don't know whether many of you remember her. She's the one I came to the university to work with at conferences and summer programs. Doctors Brenda Jackson, Harry Kehishan, Martin Green, Walter Cummings, James Griffo, Walter Savage, Ken Green, Mal Sturgio, Peter Woolley, Diane Richton, Ken Verkins, and so many more terrific people at this university. I have such a great deal of respect for each and every one of you. And the students, I have such admiration for you. Our students are fantastic. I want to send a shout out to Valerie, Ginny, Rosalie, and Ryan, who are in our Madison campus Human Resource Development Office. I especially want to send a shout out to a very special friend, sister, and my adopted family forever, the director of the Madison and Teaneck EOF department, Marjorie Holt. Along with this special shout out, thanks to Brad Levy, Christina Jones, Erica O'Brien, David Jones, and my Teaneck family at one time, Marianne Miola, Lizette Garcia, Caron Piper, Belize Stallone, and Christina, I think it's Trerick. I especially want to give a great shout out and thanks to my current work family at the Madison campus, Dean of Students Department, specifically the Campus Life Department. Dr. Dean Brian Morrow. You've made such a great and meaningful strides in putting our department harmoniously together. I am so very proud to be a part of it, and I am delighted to be working in the harmony with all the Campus Life staff. Associate Dean Jazz Verum, Associate Dean Jasmine Verum, Jesse Schwartz, Cameron Gavon, Andre Turner, Danushi Fernando, and my boss, my direct boss, Sarah Azevedo. These are all wonderful, wonderful people. If you were to come to the Madison campus today, you would see so much life in our student center. It is unbelievable. And thanks to you too, Mike. Mike is a terrific leader. The wonderful staff that we have in our office consist of RAs, GAs, and student workers. And Brian, I didn't forget about your wonderful staff, Pam, Lydia, Darshan, Jerry, and especially you. Thank you. Lastly, not the least of my thanks to my friend, my confidant, my groom of 50 years, the father of our 2 beautiful daughters, 2 grandsons, and thank you to the man who has helped to keep me focused and grounded, who is always patient and kind, my big giant, who always volunteers our services to our community all over Morris County. I'm sure that's in the keeping of the philosophy of the university. Extend yourself to the outer community. Thank you, Keith, my husband. I love you, honey. Once again, thanks to everyone. I appreciate you. And I just want to read one more thing that is in the keeping of my thoughts. A couple of years ago at the Madison campus convocation, not too many years ago, I once heard an elected pillar say, when administrators, faculty, staff, and students of learners lives can be changed, the world can be changed, and great things can be possible. I thank you for your recognition, and congratulations to all of the new pillars. Thank you.
Our second recipient is Bill Klecker. William Klecker, Director of Athletics, College at Florham. But Bill is more than just the Director of Athletics at the College at Florham. He's also extremely active in our athletic conference, and in fact, at the national level. He was a member of the NCAA Division III National Football Committee. He is now on the NCAA National Management Council, which is involved in making policy for our division. So he's well known and well respected throughout the country for his activities in athletics. Bill has been served at Fairleigh Dickinson University for 40 years. And this is actually a very good time for this award. Because Bill needs a little bucking up because he and I are Red Sox fans and we're not doing real well right now. So we I hate you. we commiserate a lot at this point. Anyway, Bill's leadership is evident in the athletic department, where the bar is raised high for our coaches and our student athletes. The great performance of our students on and especially off the field respects Bill's commitment. The academic profile of our students is phenomenal. The team actually has a higher GPA rate, and they have a higher graduation rate than the rest of the students on the campus. So Bill is very proud of that, and as am I. Bill started the football program on the campus. He also helped to establish a number of other programs. We now have 19 sports, and 7 of those have begun since Bill's tenure. He's also upgraded our facilities and founded the Campus Hall of Fame. Bill is also an influential presence throughout the campus, supporting many efforts and serving on committees such as the Campus Council. I always look to Bill for advice as well. Whenever there's an issue on the campus, I try to pull Bill in and ask him some questions about how we should handle these issues. I have a little group that we talk with the Dean of Students, Bill, a couple of the Dean Wyman and Dean Moore, and sometimes we get together and bring in other members of the community to try and solve the problems, and Bill's always a great source of advice. And I always, is one of the people I ask when we're putting together the campus strategic plan as well. Again, Bill has played a great role in our past. He's an important part of our present, and we are fortunate to have him build our future. Bill is a true pillar of FDU.
Thank you, Ken. I'd like to start by wishing Michael Adams a speedy recovery. We'd love to see him back as soon as possible. I'd like to thank everyone involved with the process and selection of the pillars. I would also like to congratulate everyone who has received an award today. I'd like to start with a little story. I won't be long. In 1973, I was teaching at Madison High School. I got a phone call from Bob Shields. He said, "I'd like you to come over to the office and talk about a venture I've got." I was a lacrosse person just like Bob, so I thought he wanted something to do with using Madison High School's field for a lacrosse game. Come in, sat down, he says, "I'm thinking of starting a football program at Madison, and I'd like you to be the coach." Well, at 28 years old, you sort of go, "Are you okay?" Do you realize? Fortunately, he talked me into it. It took all of about 2 seconds. And that was my start at FDU. And today, it's 2011, I'm still here. I remember when Bob retired in 1988, and he had been working 28 years, my reaction was, how could anybody work at one place for 28 years? Well, on the ride over, I counted it up. This is year 38, not 40. It may turn out to be 40, but not yet. One of the biggest thrills you get as an administrator, not only whether it be athletics or any other, is watching those people you have a chance to help succeed. And I've been blessed with a great group of coaches now for the past 23 years who some have stayed and done exceedingly well. Some have left. One I can be very proud of is the present women's basketball coach at St. John's University. Her first college job was working for us at Fairleigh Dickinson Florham. And I can say, well, there's somebody I developed. No, it was just somebody who took an opportunity, ran with it, and is highly successful. The other great thing is when a former student athlete, in most cases, for me, it might be a football player, comes back and brings you up to date where they are now. Someone comes back who's a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, state police. But even more important is when they bring their kids back and they introduce you as somebody who played a role. If, as a teacher or an administrator staff, you can have that said, that's your payday. It's better than the 15th and the 30th. And the other thing, I would like to thank everybody who I've had the privilege of working with and for. Gail mentioned Carl Viola, Peter Fowley, my good friend and boss, Dr. Green. I go back, Judith Kaufman was one of my first bosses. Dean Batt was the first, and then Bob Shields. Every one of them played an important role in supporting some of the crazy ideas I've had, and occasionally a couple of good ones. And they've been supportive of the students and the student athletes. And I can't ask for anything more from people you work with. Lastly, I'd like to thank my wife, Betty, and my youngest son. The other three are away working, Colin, for all their support. And my wife cracks all the time, I haven't worked a day in my life. She's probably right, but she's been a great factor in allowing me that luxury. I'd like to thank everybody again, and as a house needs 4 pillars, I'm very pleased to be involved with these other 3. Thank you.
Okay, we're getting close. Each year, President Adams recognizes at least one individual from the university community who has made outstanding contributions to the university. This year, he has recognized two such individuals. And on his behalf, I am honored to present two presidential citations this afternoon to two outstanding members of our community. The first awardee for this year's presidential citation is Marlene Rosenbaum. Marlene, please come forward. Marlene Rosenbaum, Associate Professor of Education. We are inspired by what we dream of, but we are ultimately measured by what we do. Or in the words of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, we judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing, while others judge us by what we have done. With such a philosophy in mind, we began a massive effort several years ago to systematically engage our performance and fully incorporate assessment into the very fabric of the institutional identity. To light the way and guide our steps, we look to one of our shining stars, someone well known for uniting people from all disciplines and divides, someone who has decades of devotion to teaching future teachers, and someone with unrivaled energy, integrity, and resolve. We turn to Marlene Rosenbaum. Beginning in 2009, she took the newly created position of Associate University Provost for Learning Outcomes Assessment. Under her leadership and direction, student learning outcomes assessment goals were crafted in consultation with all constituents, were aligned carefully with the mission and goals of FDU, and were implemented across the university. She built the infrastructure and paved the way for future assessment, producing a community-wide dialogue, co-authoring the Student Learning Outcomes Assessment Guide, and writing the critical assessment section of the Middle States Periodic Review Report. During the process, Marlene also raised the institution's profile, establishing a consortium of state universities to collaborate on these issues and building FDU's reputation as a leader in developing learning outcomes. For ensuring that assessment is inherent to our institutional culture and a way of life at Fairleigh Dickinson University, on behalf of President Adams, I am privileged to award this presidential citation to Marlene Rosenbaum.
Good afternoon, everybody. As I look around this auditorium, I have the privilege to see so many people who have worked with me through the years and have been an inspiration to me. So I want to thank all of you. I know that you've been hearing a lot from all the members of the FDU community who received awards today, and I want to congratulate them. But I know the day is running long here, so I've tried to keep my remarks very, very short. I really am very, very appreciative for this award. I really think I was able to get it because of so many people who are here today, and I want to thank them. If I had to pick out all the names of all the people here today who have helped me with this enormous effort at Fairleigh Dickinson University, I would probably go on and on and on. So I'm trying to keep my remarks brief, so if you can bear with me, I would like to say my thank yous. First, I really want to thank President Adams, and like so many other people who have spoken before me, I wish he were here to give me this award. I know we all wish him well and hope that next year he will be giving recipients this honor. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Joe Kiernan. Joe Kiernan hates when I say that he was my boss, but really he was. I've been working with him very closely for 2 years, and he's just been an inspiration, very supportive, and a great mentor. I think we got a lot done on our Middle States accreditation, and a lot has to do with him. I also want to say special thanks to the other person who is going to win this award, Kathy Kelly, who was also terrific to work with. We have worked very, very hard on this project, as many of you know. And also Indira Govardhan, who is not here today, because we had to have a team effort on bringing together everything here at FDU on outcomes assessment. I also want to say very special thanks to my colleagues in the School of Education. I certainly could name each and every one of them, but again, as I said, time is short. They have always been my support. I call them my dream team because whenever I had a problem or an issue, they were there to help me out. I also want to thank the members of the Provost Learning Outcomes Assessment Committee. Across the university, we have a lot of hardworking people who represent each of the colleges. They were on this committee, and they worked so hard so that we could accomplish our goals. I also want to thank the members of Kathy's operation, the Center for Teaching and Learning. Her staff were very patient with a technology-challenged older adult who needed their services on many occasions to do better presentations for the faculty and staff. I also want to thank all of the deans. Each and every one of them met with me, gave me their advice and counsel, and quite honestly, when strategies were set up, they followed through and followed up with the faculty. So I do want you to all know I appreciate you very, very much. I also want to say that I have to give special thanks to all the faculty who started to do work that really was not familiar to them, wasn't necessarily something that they loved to do, outcomes assessment. But as I said at a meeting at the college at Florham, I think you're going to find that doing the work on assessment has some really good benefits. So don't forget, you can use it for your research, and you can also use it to go to your deans for more resources. And last but not least, I certainly want to thank my family, my daughter Abby, who is here. She was supposed to be on a trip to Hong Kong and changed that to be with us. To my husband, who I married over 51 years, who certainly has stood by me through thick and thin, and my lifelong friends who are here today. So thank you very much, and I'm really honored and appreciate this.
Okay, our final award this afternoon and second presidential citation goes to Kathy Kelly. Kathy, please come forward. Dr. Catherine Kelly, Associate Provost for Educational Resources and Assessment. Bill Gates has accurately noted, never before in history has innovation offered promise of so much to so many in so short a time. When it comes to fulfilling the promise of innovation for education at FDU, we time and time again turn to Kathy Kelly. As the driving force behind the Center for Teaching and Learning with Technology, Kathy has been at the forefront of the institution's groundbreaking efforts, fusing pedagogy, technology, teaching, and learning. Or in other words, or in the words of someone well familiar with the progress made in the last decades, without Kathy, FDU would be in the educational technology Stone Age. Reliable and resilient, intelligent and inquisitive, Kathy has held our hands as we plunged into the digital era, training faculty on best practices, creating a supportive atmosphere second to none, and ensuring that the infrastructure and tools are in place to skillfully deliver online courses use interactive video conferencing, and incorporate new tools like e-readers. In the major campaign to integrate assessment throughout the university, Kathy provided the perfect complement to Marlene Rosenbaum, both working seamlessly to ensure success. Among other things, Kathy created the technological infrastructure needed to gather and analyze assessment data, tailoring the tools to the unique needs of different departments and developing an incredible inventory of assessment activity. She further facilitated the learning outcomes assessment efforts needed in Silberman College's reaccreditation process. Distinguished in her realm, Kathy has represented the university many times, offering direction to peers and pupils far and wide. She has well earned our applause and appreciation, and on behalf of President Adams, I take pride in presenting her this presidential citation. Congratulations.
When President Adams called me last week to tell me that I was going to get this award, I was extremely overwhelmed and gratified and honored. And one of the things that I think has been very hard for me as I've been growing up and as I've been maturing in my career, I was raised as an old-fashioned New Englander, which means that your life is based on the values of hard work, self-reliance, and independence. And I think that those are really excellent values to use as a starting point in your life. But one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is that that's just a starting point, that you can only get so far with self-reliance, that there are times, many times, when you need to lean on people, and sometimes you need to lean on them hard. And one of the things that I've found about working at Fairleigh Dickinson for the past 10 years is that this is a place where there are many people that I can lean on, and I hope they can lean on me too. But I know people have had many, many thanks for people. I could thank almost everybody in this room for help that you've given me personally many times in my life and here at Fairleigh. But there are 5 people here at Fairleigh in particular that I really want to single out for being cheerleaders and supporters and mentors. The first of those is the person who was up here right before me, Marlene Rosenbaum. And I know I'm not the only person in this room who'd say the same thing. She has many, many people who have much that they owe her, and I feel that way. She's been such an incredible mentor and support to me. The other 2 very strong people that I would really like to thank are Joe Kiernan and Neil Sturm, who have been there repeatedly for me when I've really needed somebody's wise counsel. They've always given it. A lot of times those 3 people would give me very different counsel, mind you, but it was always good. And I think even if they gave me completely opposite ideas of what to do with a particular problem, I could find the middle ground through that, and I really have valued their support. The final 2, and by far not the least, possibly the most, have been 2 people on my staff, Sandra Selleck and Manish Wadhwa. They're my friends. They're not just people on my staff. They're people that I feel that I can trust and rely on, and I hope that they feel the same way about me. And just to wrap things up and keep it as short as possible, a lot of what I have to say is almost identical to what Marlene said. The work that we did on assessment in the past year, or 2 years, I guess, it was only partially Marlene and I. We did a lot of work. We worked really hard. But what we did was nothing without the work of all of you. I think that all of the faculty here at Fairleigh Dickinson have contributed in one way or another to the assessment efforts of the university. And that's really what it's all about. So thank you all very much. Welcome.
Well, Michelle said it would take 2 hours to do this, and guess what? Before we close, I just want to, we did a lot of thanking, but an event like Convocation does not just work on its own. And certainly it's not because of anything I did or didn't do. So what I want to do is thank the people who made this event possible, because it takes a great deal of planning that begins in the spring and works through the summer. You all know how many reminders you got to send in your regalia slips and how many times you were reminded to go pick it up, and now we're going to tell them to bring it back. But Michelle and Joan from my office, we wouldn't be able to put anything like this together without them. You know, Joan is one of the original recipients of the Pillar Award. Back in the first year it was given, and Michelle was in the second year. So you see what I have to support me. I want to also thank our facilities staff who work very hard to put everything in the right places, and people in education technology who make it so that we can speak to you and you can hear us. I also want to thank Martha Young from the General Counsel's Office for the work that she did in supporting this, and Jean Mazzola, who works with Chris, who didn't sign up for this, but found herself after July 1st in the middle of convocation planning. And I hope that she's still working for us after we're done. In the meantime, thank you all for coming to this, to our convocation. Please join us. The reception is going to be in the Edward Williams Commons. That's directly across the parking lot from here. I assure you it's a shorter walk than it is from Dreyfus to the mansion, even though it's not as nice and pretty to do. And kindly remain seated until the platform party and the faculty exit the auditorium, because they want to get to the food first. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next year at the College at Florham.